What's up, guys? Sergeant Glory here. Every once in a while, I have to stay up all night to get ready for my next shift because I work nights, so I was just going to sit down and do a little bit of a video blog. Actually, specifically, I wanted to talk about gaming and the hobby and how it has helped me growing up and becoming who I am right now. Growing up, I was a middle child, and that comes with all of the challenges of being a middle child, including not always having somebody to just hang around with, like in the neighborhood. We were homeschooled, and I didn't see a lot of kids. That you'd go to your classroom, and there'd be all these kids sitting around. You go to have lunch, you go to the playground. I didn't experience that. It was me and my siblings, my two older brothers who had their friends, my older sister who had her friends, and my youngest brother who had his younger friends, and then me. And so I kind of tried to fit in where I could. Growing up with anxiety and hyperactivity and OCD and probably ADHD did not necessarily help it. What it did is it made it hard for me to develop social skills and to become confident with who I am and to build up some self-esteem, some self-respect. It was very, very hard. I went to college out of homeschooling. I had no idea what it was like to sit in a classroom. I had no idea what it was like to try and make friends out of strangers that you had no connections to. They weren't friends of the family. You didn't know them from anything else other than you sat in the classroom with them. And I knew nothing about it. And it hurt a lot of my ability to be able to grow because I didn't have those skills, and I kept falling down and failing. When I was a kid, I lived in a family where we were very competitive. I mean, you couldn't sit down to play Monopoly with us. Risk. It was impossible. I learned how to be a very competitive gamer and how to be obsessive and how to be aggressive. It wasn't until I was an adult that I discovered the gaming shop, the game shop, the comic shop, the game community. A store where you go there that is filled with tables, and people get together there on a regular basis, sometimes 2, 3, 4 times a week, sometimes once a week, once every other week. Just sit down at a table and play a game that they each enjoy to play. I got introduced to this through Magic: The Gathering, oddly enough, and I started to learn about it, and I started to learn how to play. And I didn't have anybody really to play with. I was married at the time. My wife was not interested, and I didn't have friends that I would call friends that were into it at all, acquaintances or anything like that. So if I wanted to play the game, I had to go to Friday Night Magic at the local game shop. Now I would drive 25 minutes, pay an entry fee, and sit down with a deck that you've built. And a Magic deck is like the sum of your self-confidence sometimes. And you say, okay, I built this up. I've spent hours on it, and let's go. These are my ideas in a box. Let's find out if my ideas are better than your ideas, essentially. Let's find out if my deck is better than your deck. Let's find out if I can gain an advantage. So that's the way I looked at it when I went to Friday Night Magic starting out. Sitting down at a table across from a stranger that I had never met was probably the hardest thing I have had to do since college, because I had a very sour interaction in college. It was a test of my self-esteem, it was a test of my anxiety, it was a test of my OCD. But what did happen is that I met players that were friendly and outgoing and not competitive, but serious about the game. Serious about you as a player, more often than not. And I found this intriguing because here I am sitting down to play a competitive game. You're more serious and interested in me and as a player and how I play and how I learn than you are about your own deck and about my deck. And it introduced me to the idea that social interactions don't have to be forced. They don't have to be competitive. And I noticed a significant change. in how I was interacting with other people. Now, we moved away from that. For the longest time, all I did was go in and play this game called Axis and Allies Miniatures with my brother and one of his friends. It was just the three of us, and we would just sit at the table and play for 3 or 4 hours. I didn't have any really social interactions with anybody else, and I noticed a dip in my progress. It wasn't until I started going back to Friday Night Magic that I realized that there was something that I was missing. Now, I've had time to reflect on this, and I have noticed that there has been a subtle but consistent improvement in my social abilities as a person, and my etiquette, and my comfortableness with myself. So my point is this. My point is this. If you're out there, like I was, like I still am, and I fail miserably all of the time, and afraid to sit down with someone, afraid to have a conversation, afraid to, not confident in yourself enough to be able to articulate what it is that you want to say. Hang in there. I would suggest find a game. Find a game that you like to play, that you can share with someone. Because when you sit down at a table with another player for, be it Friday Night Magic, be it Star Wars X-Wing, or Star Wars Armada, or Dungeons and Dragons, or Axis and Allies, or Pokemon, your whole conversation, for the most part, is consistent of what's happening in the game. Now, I'm not saying that everybody that you're going to sit down at a table with is going to be this polite and endearing and gracious winner and not a sore loser, because there are lots of people out there that are like that. But the world is a better place because of them. I'm convinced of it, because I enjoy the company of people who aren't that way even the more. My point is, if you're struggling with self-confidence and with social interactions, find a game. Find a game. Go out. Sit somewhere and play a game with somebody. Go to the same place. Sit with the same people. Play with the same people. It helped me a lot. I'm not perfect, and I'm still learning a lot. And I'm sure that there are things about my brain that need tinkering, but getting out and sitting across from a stranger who then becomes an acquaintance, who then you become familiar with, and then you're like, oh yeah, I remember you, and you said this, and this is what you liked, and this is the type of deck you're, oh yeah, okay, makes it easier to become more comfortable with yourself. Even if it means that you're just going to sit there at the table and you're not going to say a word to the person who's sitting across from you. I've had nights like that where I've gone in and I don't want to talk to you. I just want to play the game because I'm not comfortable. And it took some time. And I'm here now, and you probably can tell by the tone of my voice that I'm a little uncomfortable with blogging. It's gotten a lot better. And it will continue to get better for you. Use gaming as a way to help. Because I think that you're meeting on even grounds. And it eliminates a lot of the unknown. It also gives you a little bit of the unknown. I mean, I sit down and play Magic, I know what to expect. But I don't know what to expect. I know what cards you're probably going to have in your deck, but I have no idea how you're going to play them. So, I mean, I may know some of the thoughts that you have, but I don't know how you're going to interpret them, and I don't know how you're going to express them. Thanks for listening to me ramble on. Like and subscribe if you will. Share this video if you want to. But think about it and have a good day.